everybody. I'm Paul Carruthers, the Communications Manager for MotoAmerica, and welcome to the Rider's Turn, which is our inaugural one, our debut one, and we have Josh Herrin here today. What we're going to be doing with this show is we're going to have a rider from these races. We picked Josh for the Circuit of the Americas round, which was the second round in our championship and the second race in Texas. We picked him because, as you'll find out, or as you probably already know, this was a race he won. So it's a good chance for us to get inside of his head and see what he's thinking about when these races go on. So we're about to start right now, Josh.
Yeah, this is this is the most, actually this is the calmest that I ever am on the start of the race. Right before, as we're about to put the bikes in gear, I'm nervous, feel like I'm gonna puke. But start of the race is always the best moment, for sure, because there's kind of no feeling. You're just waiting for the flag to drop.
So once it does drop, that feeling kind of goes away, and then you just...
Yeah, at the beginning of the race, I feel sick. I mean, you get asked my mechanics. I'm talking to them on the grid about how I feel all the time, and it sucks for sure. But once the flag drops, it all goes away.
So that start right there, you're second behind Tony. You're happy with that, right?
Yeah, for sure. My plan for this race was to just sit behind Tony. I'm sure I don't remember for sure, but I think I go by him maybe a couple times, but I wanted to sit behind and just, get going, try and work together instead of fighting against each other, try and draft each other on the straightaways, because I knew we had the fastest bike on the grid this weekend, and just try and get a gap if we could.
Now, Tony had won the day before race one, and you'd ran with the leaders, and then you faded back. I think you had some tire problems maybe or something, or you picked the wrong tire. I know you chose a different tire for this one than you had for the first race. But you obviously, with the two races, don't you tend to learn something from the first race that helps you with the second?
Yeah, it was weird because this, in years past, I was always better on the Saturday race, the first race. But now, this year, I was always better on the second race. I think just because the bike was new, it was always kind of learning for me in race one how the bike worked during a race, right? I hadn't rode it. I'd rode the R1 for so long. I knew what that bike was going to do, so I could, come out of the hole on Saturday, feeling confident. But Saturdays this year, I was learning. So Saturday, I learned a lot about the bike and what it was going to do, and then was able to use that for Sunday and kind of know my strategy going into it was going to be a little bit different than the first one.
Now we went to COTA from Road Atlanta. So Road Atlanta was your first two races on the Suzuki.
Yep.
You didn't have the best of weekends, at least not by what you expected or what you wanted.
Yep.
Things changed here, obviously.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil it. Maybe people haven't seen this yet, but Road Atlanta was tough. We had a pretty fast crash in qualifying, and in the race I got a little excited in one of them and was trying to go for the lead on Tony and tuck the front. So it was a frustrating weekend for sure. And coming to COTA, I was a little bit bummed because I don't usually like riding on this track. But as you could tell in this race, the Suzuki had a lot of power, so it made it a lot more fun to come here, because if I made a mistake somewhere, I could make it up, on the straightaway.
At this point, are you worried or concerned with guys behind you, or are you only focused on the guy ahead of you?
I was probably just concerned with Tony getting away, because I knew that he was going fast.
There's your first pass.
Yeah,
that's not gonna work, is it?
I actually don't think I meant to go by. I think he had got on the brakes, because back in the sixth, there's Tony telling me to follow him, but I'm like thinking, all right.
Yeah, he likes to. It's like, I'm doing all I can. What do you want now?
Last year, he would tap on the back of his bike like that, and I would see red. I'd get so pissed. I think he did it on purpose just to piss me off. But, we'd be battling, and he'd tap on the back, and normally, rider lingo is hey, follow me. I'm going faster, or I want to show you something if I'm coaching someone. But there, it's just him saying, now we're teammates. Like, let's work together. He thinks that we can pull away. But yeah, I'm usually more concerned with who's in front of me. But, my mom always would yell at me if I was looking back in the races. So for a long time, I wouldn't. But now I think the older I get, the more experience I get, I want to know who's behind me. I want to know how far they are behind, because each rider is different. Some are aggressive, a JD Beach or a Skoltz or a Gerloff, they'll attack, where Cameron will sit there until maybe the last couple, or if he sees that Tony's getting a little gap on me, he'll want to get by because he doesn't want Tony to pull away too far because he knows I'm hard to pass. So I think Cameron will always, any chance he gets, get by if there's somebody in front that's pulling away. So if I look back and notice that Cam is there, I'd try to push a little bit harder because, with Tony in front of me, I know that he would go for it. So, but in this race, I was so worried about just watching Tony. I was still learning from him at the time. I learned from him all year, but just being able to sit on his tail like this and see what he's doing with the exact same bike, what he's doing with the throttle pickups and everything.
Your line's a little different than his, though. Is that normal?
Yeah, you'll see as this race goes on, I actually end up getting the same lines as him. I think there's so much that I was focusing on that I was experimenting a little bit with lines during the race, and then towards the end, I actually pretty much do the same lines as him everywhere except going into turn one. Our line was a lot different. But I'll show you in a second here in the back if it gets back on us. One spot that I really learned a lot. Yeah, in this race, it was working so good. We were able to just draft each other on all the straightaways. The straights are so long here. And actually, Tony's 10, 15 pounds lighter than me, but one thing that I was always trying to tell him throughout the year was that the way that I shift the bike, I get faster trap speeds, and I could always go by him on the straightaways. And I was always short shifting, and he was waiting until the shift light came on, and then shifting past the shift light at a lot of times. But the way that I was shifting the bike, it was almost slingshotting me, and my bike felt a lot better. So right here in race one, Gerloff and those guys and Tony, they were all yanking me coming out of that tight left. And I learned that just by one thing that I was doing, especially on this bike, is I was stabbing the throttle. And I was thinking, okay, if I get on the throttle before the guy in front of me and we have the same bike, how's he accelerating harder than me and pulling away? And what I learned by looking at the data and talking to the guys and sitting behind them for the whole first race was that if I just crack the throttle on, say normally I would whack it, right here. If instead of whacking it right there, I just barely touch throttle, if I'm accelerating a little bit, I'm able to, inch the bike forward with the electronics that are in the bikes these days. If you get on throttle really hard, it senses that the bike is spinning up and then it slows the bike down. So I'm losing drive because it's slowing the bike down. But by watching Tony's data, he was just inching on the throttle, but because his electronics weren't pulling him back, he was actually accelerating harder than me, even though he was half throttle compared to my full throttle.
Wow.
So that was something that I really picked up a bunch in the first race and was able to use in the second one.
At this point, okay, we're 4 laps in. Are things going by quickly, or does it start to drag, or does it really only drag like when you're in the lead? And
for me, it goes by super quick whenever I have a race like this because there's no pressure on me, right? Like JD's, 3/10, 4/10 back, and I'm feeling like super good. And if like right here, Tony has a little gap, I'm able to make it up on the straight. And most laps I'm rolling off right here because I don't want him feeling any pressure from me.
Right.
I don't want him thinking, oh, he's going for a pass and maybe he makes a mistake. I want to sit as far back as I can, but also be close enough that I'm comfortable and not feeling like I have to make any aggressive moves to catch up.
But why wouldn't you want him to make a mistake?
Just because the flow is going really good right now. Like me and him are riding good together. Nobody's catching us at this point. So I want him to keep doing the good laps. I think, we were at lap record pace right here. And, I was feeling super good. So my plan was to wait till the last lap and then just pounce when he wasn't expecting it. And I also didn't want to show him a wheel. If I rolled up on him somewhere, he'd know, okay, he's pretty good right there. He's having to roll off. I wanted to roll off sooner than that, so he never even saw me.
We can touch on this again later, but like what point in the race do you realize, okay, it's the two of us, and you start thinking about where you would pass him? Like you just said, you're not going to necessarily show him where that would be, but when do you start actually like calculating like, oh, I could probably do it here, or I could maybe do it there?
The whole race.
Oh, you're thinking about it the whole time?
Yeah, for sure. Whenever you're riding, you kind of try to find the spots where you're stronger and where they're weaker, just so that you can kind of plan that. Like right now, like I said, I'm calm at this point. My heart rate's probably going higher right now on the camera than I was in the race right here, because back in 600 days, I felt the most comfortable doing what I'm doing right now. Just I'd sit behind Eslick or Cardenas and just wait till the last lap and pounce on them. That was always a really good way for me to win races. And But yeah, right now I'm just trying to focus on where I'm going to do it the whole race pretty much. Right here is actually the worst spot. He was pulling on me a lot, but then I'd start catching him once we got down to this downhill section right here.
Which part of that track's your favorite?
Um,
I know you already said you're not a big fan of the
I'm
track.
not a huge fan, but man, I'd say probably the triple right in the back, like around the stadium section.
Mm-hmm.
I'll point it out when we get to it. But when I was there last year with one of my sponsors, 11 Motorsports, I was going around that triple right, and I was so comfortable riding in that section that I was taking my left hand. It was a long right. You're going about 100 miles an hour. And I was taking my left hand off the handlebar, turning around and flipping my buddy off and spinning the tire up, leaving blackies and smoke, just because I felt so comfortable in that spot. But that's one of the only ones. This is cool because you're going so slow and the lean angle so far. But these rights that we're going into right now, this is like third gear, fourth gear for some guys, and you're going pretty quick there. But yeah, just there's, as you can see, Tony spinning the thing up, and there's a big bump right here. So driving out of there makes it hard, you know, because you're sliding and then you get this big drop off, bike G's out, and feels like you're going to high side.
Now, at this point in the race, it looks like Cameron's starting to close up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of that from pit signals? Or?
Yeah, I'll probably look back, but Jimmy's the one doing the pit board, and he'll let me know. Our lines were so different. Missed it right there. But
going up the hill?
Yeah, Pridmore was talking about it the whole race, but going in turn one, our lines were so different. We'd cross over, and it was really weird to watch, but it just felt comfortable. I didn't like Tony's line through there.
Now, the bike works well here because, I mean, it likes tight corners and a big straightaway after, right? Because the way it comes off the corner, no?
I mean, it does like long straightaways, but our bikes really like the GP style tracks, like tracks that have a lot of room and we're rolling through the corners and long straightaways. If we were racing World Superbike tracks, we would, oh man, this thing would be eating these guys up. Like Cameron and Tony are, I mean, everybody's great. Gerloff came on super strong, but Cameron's an awesome rider. I've been riding around him for the past few years, and this race, I could tell he was pushing hard to catch us, especially when I look back at it. You know, we're drafting each other. Our bikes were, I don't remember exactly how much faster they were, but they were a lot faster, and we're double drafting each other, and he's having to push wind by himself
and stay there.
I could tell when I watched this other man, he was pissed off
like
trying to catch
work.
us. Like, damn it, I wish I had the faster bike right now. You know, I've been in that situation before.
That's a bad feeling, right?
Yeah, I felt like at this race and at MotoAmerica, I felt like when I was racing 600s on the R6 against Eslick on the Buell, that's how I felt here. I was like, man, our bikes are fast right now. Cam's pissed. Like, it's just nothing you can do, right? It's not like you have a button that gives you more power. You know, we have all these fancy buttons, but there's none that does that. So that's the only thing that you can't control in the race.
Let's talk about those buttons a little bit, because when I look at it, and I'm sure when the average fan looks at it, it's like, holy crap, it's like a video game. It's like, what do you focus on just a couple of buttons, or do you actually have to use all those at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I always forget what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, my guys will tell you that. But see, here's our different lines, right? He goes tight and I come back out wide.
Yeah.
It's really weird we cross over. But I was just telling somebody at an event I was at the other day, because they were like, I can't believe you're pulling a tear off and, you know, doing all this stuff, adjusting your brake lever. I'm just watching you do that, and I don't understand how you're doing it. A lot of people don't realize how much stuff we're doing on the straightaways, you know, or just on the track in general. We're adjusting TC, we're adjusting engine brake, we're adjusting the power on the bike, you know, just not top speed like I was just talking about that you can't adjust, but we can actually adjust the power kind of on the bottom end, the torque of the bike. We can adjust that while we're riding. So we have those three settings. We have the brake lever adjuster, which is on the left handlebar. I'm adjusting that probably 10 times every lap. And then not only am I focusing on the straightaway, making sure I'm not running in Tony's back tire, so I'm drafting him, but I'm also looking at the pit board, trying to figure out how many laps we have left, what's my fastest lap time, how far back is Cameron, and you have all this stuff going on, and that's all on one straightaway that you're thinking about that stuff. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about, like a track day guy, right? All he's focused on most of the time is just his riding. But for us, there's 15 things going on at one time, and this is our job, so there's a lot on the line as well. So it's pretty nuts how much stuff's going on.
As far as the TC setting, that's totally a decision that you're making at the time?
Yeah, and our bikes, actually, it wouldn't be so much TC, it would be the dumbing down the power.
Right.
That's
when the tires start to go off, you do that?
Yeah.
Because MotoGP, I think their crew's telling them what to change it to.
Yeah. I mean, my guys kind of tell me, like, hey, and I can tell them, like, okay, I want it to do this, right? Like this last race, I noticed that the tire was spinning up a ton, so give me less power as the race goes on, so I'm not driving out, spinning the tire up and holding the bike back. I can adjust the power a little bit, especially at a track like here, because I know my bike's faster than Cameron's already, so it wouldn't hurt me to lose some power, but I'll be able to get off the corners better because my tire's not spinning so much. Yeah, cause you can see Cameron's just getting in hot everywhere.
Yeah, he's making mistakes from trying so hard.
Now he's got the triple draft going on, but also he's just trying to make up a lot of time on the brakes. So yeah, at this point I see on my board probably that Cameron's catching. I'm getting a little bit nervous, but I want to stick to the game plan until Cameron makes a move on me. I want to stick to the game plan and just try and stay on Tony's wheel. And if Cameron does go by me, I know instantly I can get back by him on the straightaway. So I'm not stressing too much about it, but I'm more aware of it than I am at the beginning.
And the pace you're going here, you're just comfortable with, right?
Oh yeah, it was so weird. This is one of those races where I literally saw a lap record on my dash. Like we did a 2:08, which is insane to me. And I was like, it's one of those races where you're like, how? Like I'm sitting behind Tony, I'm rolling off on the straightaways, I'm not going in on some corners as hard as I would like to, and we're doing lap record pace. But it just goes to show that sometimes you need to go slow to go fast, right? You stay calm, and like I said, with the throttle application, I'm calm on the throttle versus stabbing at it, trying to go hard, and it just helped me out a lot. So this section right here, I'm actually really weak in. That tight right, I'm not good in it. I always feel like I'm going to tuck the front there. But this is right here where I was saying I learned a lot from Tony. I just get on throttle smooth, and now
there's times here that it looks like he's actually holding you back a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes, like when you're comfortable following somebody, it's really hard to sit behind someone the whole race, because there's maybe like this race where there's spots I feel like I could go faster.
Right.
And also it's not fun sitting that close to somebody when there's a lot of heat coming off the exhaust, because it wears you out.
Yeah, people probably don't even think about that.
Oh, it sucks. I mean, when you're trying to like just stay focused in a race and breathe and focus on everything that's going on, having that heat right in your face isn't fun. And the exhaust on the Yosh bike's actually pretty big, so you feel it quite a bit. Our lines are so different there. Primore was tripping out when he was commentating on this.
Yeah, and see Cameron's fought back again a little bit.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to think of stuff to say the entire race, isn't it? They give credit. That's why Greg White's always yapping about nothing.
Yeah, he starts screaming and stuff, so we're not going to do that.
Yeah, this was a good race. I think in this race, I was really feeling like I needed to prove something. This was the first race that I was
going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it was only the second round, but I had just, I left attack, and a lot of people wanted me to stay at attack because we had that underdog feeling, and we had a great thing going. But, it was a dream of mine to not only get back to a factory ride, but to ride for Yoshimura Suzuki. That was something I never thought I would get to do. I thought that time had already passed. I thought the only team I'd get to ride for was somebody new that came into the series, hopefully, like a Cowie or Honda or Ducati, somebody. Just because, they had, in my eyes, they're always looking for somebody young. So it was different for me at 28 years old to get another shot like that. So I had something that I really wanted to prove. And racing against Tony, testing all year or all winter, he was super strong. And I realized how good of a rider Tony was. Because when I was on the Yamaha, there were some spots where I felt like, maybe the bike was better in this spot, right? There's always, every bike you get on, it's better in one spot than the other bike is. But I found out when I got on the same bike as him, like, okay, he's
good.
He's good on this thing. And there were certain tracks like here where this bike was the best bike I've ever rode. But then we go to some tracks like Road Atlanta was kind of tough because it's a little bit more tight and technical. So testing all winter, it was kind of an eye opener for me because all the tracks in California that we ride at, Buttonwillow, Chapala, Thunder Hill, it's super tight and bumpy, and this bike didn't really like that. And it's completely different from the stock bike. This bike feels like what I would think would be like a MotoGP bike. It's so much different. So I was doing track days on my stock GSXR, and I loved the thing. And then I got on the race bike at a bumpy track like Chuck Wall, and it was like almost like my Moto2 bike. I was like super twitchy everywhere and kind of nervous about it. But anyways, getting back to it, the bike felt so good here, and me and Tony were able to just gel so well on the track together like this. And in my head, I'm like, okay, don't screw this up. I had so much pressure on myself to win this race because I had a lot of friends there. I had a lot to prove just with fans and riders. And so I was stressing pretty hard, just mentally about trying to win this race. So whenever it came as easy as it did, just riding with Tony, it really made me loosen up and kind of just feel good about the whole race.
So at this point, are you thinking last lap? Are you thinking 3 laps from the end? I mean, we've got 5 to go here, so it's probably foremost in your mind.
I felt like I had a little bit of pace on Tony, and I noticed his tires were sliding a lot. And I was like, okay, I know now, like, I'm pretty sure I can pass him with, maybe the beginning of the last lap or 2 laps to go and just try and pull the trigger.
And do you already know where you're going to do that?
No. I just knew that there was like 2 or 3 spots that I potentially could get him. But I usually try and go somewhere that people aren't expecting, because not only when you're being followed the whole race like this, you're not expecting to get passed because nobody's passed you the whole race, but I always try to go where somebody isn't expecting, because you, as the rider that's getting passed, when you get passed and you're not expecting it, or it's in a weird spot where you're like, there's no way somebody could pass me here, it really like screws with your mind. You start panicking. You're like, you start thinking about, how did he do that? Or I didn't think that was possible, or something like that. And then you get into panic mode, like, I have to catch back up. So I always try and do it in a random spot just to get them flustered a little bit, because it's just an advantage. If you can make a crazy pass, like an outside pass work or something like that, it's just going to fluster the rider in front.
Now, at this point, can you actually sense that Cameron's that close? Or do you have to rely on looking back or your board?
I can, with the board.
Like, when do you start to be able to hear him?
Right. Not until he's right behind you.
Like, Tony obviously hears you the whole time, but.
Yeah, because you need to be pretty close. One thing that you can for sure do in the race, when he gets close like that, the bike changes on the straightaway. Like, when I'm drafting Tony by myself compared to Cameron drafting both of us, the bikes will start to like move a little bit more. So that's actually the easiest way for me to know somebody's right behind us. And the board for sure says, you can see me adjusting the brake lever right now, but the board says for sure like plus 0.2 right now, or plus 0.
Well,
I think Tony let me go by right there.
So that wasn't the last pass?
No. I don't really remember this race that well. I'm not like one of the riders that remembers everything about a race. So right now I'm kind of like,
you're trying to remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what's about to happen. But I think he had let me by right there, possibly, to kind of see what.
Does that make you nervous that he would do that?
Yeah, because it just goes against the flow, right? I'm like, God,
right, something new.
Yeah, like I wasn't expecting that. So that the plans changed a little bit now. So I think at this point, I'd probably put my head down and just see if I could do something. And if I sensed that it wasn't working, then I would probably just kind of relax and wait and see what they're going to do. Because there's no point in me wasting my tire if they're going to be sitting on my ass the last 4 laps. I want to have the freshest tire at the end. So
there's a look back.
Yeah. So that just lets me know, okay, Cam's behind Tony. Tony's not going to do anything crazy because we're teammates. Like he was pretty cool about that all year. We never really made any aggressive passes on each other. But I know that Cam's probably going to try and get by Tony if he sees me going away a little bit.
Yeah, so towards the end of the race, when Tony's second and Cameron's third, Cameron could be your best ally there because if they start fighting, it gives you a chance to get away.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't even remember this happening. I don't remember leading like this with 4 laps to go. I thought it was like 2 laps to go, so.
Yeah, I didn't think it. I thought it was 2 laps to go that you did this. But maybe, does he come back by you, or do you not remember that?
I don't remember. I'm pretty sure because, yeah, he for sure does. Because I don't think my fenders broke yet. And I was behind when that happened. But it's crazy to me that Tony is probably 15, 20 pounds lighter than me. And just by shifting different, our bikes are that much different on power. Because I could pull up on the side of him and go by him super easy.
So why didn't you just change?
I don't know. I talked to him about it a few times. Yeah. I think I saw him like on the side of me right here a little bit. And I was like, okay, I don't want to lead anymore. I felt like at that time I was more comfortable with Tony leading. I was like, go back in front, right? So I kind of did the same thing that he did. I wasn't planning on it, but whenever I noticed him kind of on the side, I think I was like, all right, go for it.
His almost seems a little tank slappy down there sometimes.
On the straightaway?
Yeah.
Yeah, this weekend, actually, there was something, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was something he was like, maybe his bike was longer than mine or something. But I never really had that problem. And there was definitely something that they were trying or they were doing at the beginning.
So that's just on the geometry, making it longer and shorter?
Yeah. Made it look like he was on Pirellis, like World Superbike guys on Pirellis, they're always kind of wiggling like that. So it always kind of made me feel like maybe he's trying to set it up kind of like he did in World Superbike or something, get the thing loose. Yeah, 2:08.9. I think I was really bummed out in this race because Greg White said that Cameron had the lap record, but he didn't figure out till the end that it was me. Because to me, lap records are always super cool, especially like I got one at Laguna last year and Speeds had it since 2008.
So was would this race had a faster pace than race 1?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have the time that I set in this race was the fastest time ever at COTA on a Superbike. And on race tires, which was really
That's impressive.
The tires were really good. I think this is where my fender blows up. And I had no idea that it happened until I came in. And Cameron was like, dude, your fender exploded right in front of me. And I was like, what? And I think it's right here. Yeah. No, next lap maybe. Oh, there it is.
So what was that?
I have no idea. I didn't feel it. I didn't hear it.
It looked like you hit a bird.
Yeah. I came in, I was talking to Cam. He's like, dude, your fender almost killed me. And I like, what? And I like, look, my back fender's there. Whoa, my front fender's gone.
Is there a natural reaction to when that's your teammate ahead of you to treat things differently than if it wasn't?
Yeah, you want to be more careful, but you also, I mean, you want to be like alpha dog, right? I want to win.
Right.
I don't want to be this second fiddle in the team, which Yosh was awesome about all year, like making us, I felt equal to Tony all year. There was never any like favoritism. But I for sure I want to win. I want to go back to the trailer being the guy that won.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's just showing off those fancy forks now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. There must have been like maybe like a piece of rubber or something stuck in between and it just wedged it. I don't know. Probably right here, I'm like, shit.
Yeah,
like Tony has a little bit of a gap and I'm probably freaking out. Oh yeah.
So what do you have to do there? You just have to like control the panic?
Yeah, because when I panic, right, I
worse.
don't go as good. So I have to stay calm and like just remember, okay, you were better than him in this next section. So just stay calm, you'll catch up. But as a rider in front, you're also not showing your cards until the last 2 laps, right? Maybe you have something in your back pocket.
Right, so you're thinking he might have something that he didn't show the whole race.
Yeah, and I need to be right on him because right now I know Cameron's right behind me. So if Cameron sees him gapping at all, Cam's going to pass me and then we're going to battle and then Tony's going to get away possibly.
Now, it must be really hard to he made a mistake.
Well, he had shifting problems. He couldn't get the bike to go into gear, which we had a couple times this year. Like we'd go to pull on the lever and it would just be stuck. So at the beginning of the year, I was like, okay, I think I didn't know Tony super well, and I was like, maybe he's making excuses in my head, right? I was like, I think he knows I'm gonna beat him, and he wanted to just run wide or something. That's what I was thinking as a rider. I'm like, no. I was like, you little shit. Like, you better be pushing hard because I want this win to be legit. But then later on in the year, I had the same problem. I was like, okay, he wasn't full of crap, because I've done that before. Like to the other rider, I don't want him thinking that I'm just weaker, right? But
So at this point, you saw him make that mistake.
mm-hmm.
So
and
you're thinking, I'm just putting my head down and going.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
So you're all in at this
maybe
point.
his tire's bad and he just doesn't think he can hang, or maybe he has a bike problem, but I'm going. And I'm never that good at just going, like by myself. It's usually something I struggle with. But at this race, I was able to do it and feel super confident. I think I look back though, like I want to see what I got. Yeah, I think the last couple laps I was looking back just to see who was back there. But yeah,
Are you thinking about? Do you saw Skoltz up there ahead?
I'm like thinking,
are you thinking?
Out of the way.
Yeah, you're just like go fast, like stay out of my way, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you haven't had any traffic at all, I think, because the track's so big here. But
yeah, I saw that come in, and I'm like, dude,
that's not what you needed.
Please get out of the way. Like this is such a good race right now, and I have a little bit of a gap.
So this is the last lap. What?
And I was honestly hoping that he would be there though, to where I could draft him on the back straight, because I knew they were going to be drafting each other. I was like, hopefully he's there.
So Tony Elias just couldn't get his bike into gear, relegated that lead over to Josh Herrin, and Herrin is pulling the trigger.
Yeah, I was, and obviously right now, I was honestly thinking that he was going to be right behind me.
That's what I was wondering. Like, are you just thinking at any minute he's going to dive bomb you? And
yeah, I was going in like as hard as I could everywhere, but trying to remember like, okay, just be calm, because I don't want to get on throttle super hard and not get a good drive.
He's slowing down, so that helps.
Yeah, it gave me relief, but it was also like perfect timing to draft him. So I was like, dang, I could have used that, but it was good that he got out of the way.
Were you thinking right here this would be a corner that if he was going to come by, he would?
No. I was kind of thinking in the tight left coming up. So we go through this next right, and then the next left, I was kind of thinking that he would try something there, just because it's one of those corners where you're not expecting it. I just remember.
So you're still not home free.
Oh no, I kind of remember though. Like
you think you are now?
I'm riding good right now. I don't hear anybody. Because sometimes the slowest corners, when the bike's really quiet, you can hear people a little bit better. I was like, all right, I don't hear them, and I'm hitting my marks good right now.
So you're not thinking about picking up Channing Tatum yet?
No, I didn't know he was there. I'm just like, no way. Okay, last corner. Come on, go in hard. Don't, because a lot of times you want to block.
Oh, man.
I want to block. Just
but you don't want to ruin your drive, because blocking ruins your drive, right?
Yeah. And I crossed right here, and I was just like, I think I looked back and then just freaked out.
So at this point, there's obviously happiness, but there's also a lot of relief, right?
Yeah. No relief.
I mean, just
relief,
the fact that you did it, because
like
you said you were feeling some
breath
pressure.
Of fresh air. Yeah. Right. I mean, I was so pumped, but all I could think about right now, and I hate watching this because I feel embarrassed like watching myself. Like people think I'm like sopping like a little girl right now, but
you were.
I mean, I was like tearing up, but I was like just kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Like the second round, like we already did, I was kind of expecting to be a little bit later, and just that all my like friends and family were there, and it was the MotoGP weekend. It was cool. And I wanted to do a wheelie so bad, but I couldn't because of electronics on the bike. I couldn't do wheelies on it. But it was a relief for sure, just to say that I did it.
Well, yeah, the monkey's off your back as far as winning a race.
It was just a bummer because Tony had the problem with his bike. So it's like I never want to win like that. So I was like pumped, but at the same time I was like I hadn't known yet. So I found out later when I watched the race that he had the bike problems. I was like, okay. In the back of my head, I'm like, all right, it's time to go back to work. Like,
yeah, but I mean, you can't think of that because everybody's got some kind of issue.
Yeah, but that's what, like, when I was on the Yamaha Superbike, everyone said that too because Hayes had some problems. But as a rider in your head, like, if you're a boxer, you never want to lose a fight because, you know, the guy or a UFC guy, he tripped and then you got on top of him and got a grapple or whatever. Right.
Right.
call it. I don't know. You want to just win straight up and knock him out, right? But there was a lot of relief. I felt super good, and yeah, on the cool off lap, I noticed my buddy sitting on the side of the track, and that was probably the best part of it all.
So you knew where he was watching, or he jumped out? I don't know.
I had no idea. Like,
It's a blur.
yeah, I ended up like going by him and like oh crap! Like I saw Aaron. I didn't see Chan. I saw Aaron and my buddy Steve, and was like, I just want to go over there because, you know, Aaron and Steve, like last year when I was racing with Attack, I had no money, and I was living on my buddy Aaron's couch in Santa Monica and waking up every day and training with Steve and you know, just getting the morning going with him, because Steve wasn't training me. They were both were, but Aaron was training me. And so I'd wake up, go for a walk with Steve, go for a run, go do the stairs. Channing had like a cryo, I forget, hyperbaric chamber at his house. So I was going to the hyperbaric chamber, and then I'd come back and train with Aaron. And so those guys they did everything for me. Chan was paying for me to get this crazy Rolfing massage done, and was just helping with so much stuff. So to have all of them there, and then to see him on the side of the track and get to go celebrate with him was really cool. Yeah, right there though, I remember now, I was like, okay, go. Like, I saw Tony make a mistake, and it wasn't until after, when I watched, you know, there's always, you think like negative, or I do. I think negative a lot of times. I'm like, did he really have a problem, or did he not? Right? But then like I said, at the end of the year, I was like, okay, I had the same problem. That sucks.
How was Tony after this race? That was your first time you'd beat him.
Oh, awesome.
He's good.
Yeah. After
always
the race,
is, it seems like.
He picked me up on his shoulders. We did like a photo shoot with like Rins, because it was actually really sick.
Yeah, I remember the photo.
Yeah, Suzuki won all 3 races that day, or all that weekend. Tony won race 1, I won race 2, and Alex Rins won the GP race. And he like picked me up. I was in my leathers. He picked me up, put me on his shoulders, and took a photo. It was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was really cool too, because COTA wasn't a good track for me. So I never go into it with a lot of confidence. Right here is where I don't know, I tried to do the roll and burnout, but the TC doesn't let me do it. I thought the whole time, I'm smoking the shit out of this tire. I look back and there's nothing. I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, I just burned the clutch out. What did I do? Yeah,
so
right
now
here,
you've
I see
seen them.
Aaron, and then I'm like, oh, they're all here. I'm like, oh, I'm putting Chan on the back of the bike for sure. I wish I would have done the whole lap, but I was surprised that you guys didn't give me a fine anyways. MotoAmerica is always fine happy with me.
Oh, we've got a fine that you got to pay before you leave here today. It just goes to me and Doug.
There was so many people on like his Twitter that were
That's pretty
bashing
cool.
him about like, well, you didn't have a helmet on. It's like, dude, come on. That was the sickest thing
Well,
ever.
they don't have a helmet law in Texas, do they? So you're actually all right.
And he's got a Metric Moto shirt on. That's like our buddy's shop, which made it really cool. Yeah, that was badass. I have that photo of us riding on the bike together.
Right here, you almost had to buy her another $150 pair of sunglasses.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
I did that like 4 times this year.
That would have been your bonus money.
Yeah, that was
cool.
That was awesome. It's cool to relive stuff like that, because a lot of times I don't watch the races back over. The only time I do is maybe Saturday. I'll go on the Live Plus app and watch the race for Sunday, so maybe I'll learn something.
Right.
But I didn't really watch a lot of the races from this year, because there was 2 really good races, but a lot of really bad ones.
Right. You definitely don't want to watch the other ones.
Yeah, and I'm the kind of guy that, like, when I'm struggling, you know, a lot of the trophies like just go in the cabinets, because I don't. If I can't do good, I'm like bumming out. I just want to focus on trying to do good, but I don't want to relive moments. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, but what's good?" Because it gives you confidence, but I don't like rewatching the races or looking at trophies, because I'm like just sad that I haven't got any new ones.
Right.
So watching the race over is cool though, because like I said, I don't even remember how that race played out. So a lot of times, like next year when we go to COTA, yeah, of course I'll go watch the race and try and see something from it. But I don't remember a lot of stuff that happens. I remember the fender blowing up, and I remember, you know, getting by Tony when he had the shifting problem, and of course riding Chan around. But I don't remember a lot of the other little things that happened. So it was neat to relive it and talk about it. We should do the Road America one then, because
We might have you back for that.
Anyways,
that's
Tony is cool.
That's yeah, that was a cool pass. That's a wrap here for our first show of the Riders' Turn. So thanks for checking in and watching it, and hopefully you learned something. I know I learned something from this guy every time I talk to him, so hope you guys did too.
Sure. Thanks for watching, guys.